stripe, black. And good luck telling which one it is. They got a boot over it. Oh, I'm a dumbass. Yeah, that's really smart, Nicole. Don't pull the boot.
Did you say there was a red and blue?
Red and black, it appears. Hold on. Let me double check. Red, black with a red stripe.
Black with a red stripe?
Yep. There's a black and yellow, which is power. We got a black.
So it's black with a what?
Black with red stripe.
Idle air control valve, number 12 on A.
On A?
12 on A. This one out here?
Yeah. 12A. Should be. Yep.
Okay. Then this one, is that our ground? Well, then we got a black. So let's try black for ground.
I'm betting it's going to be sensor ground. Oh, no. I was incorrect. It's straight ground. The other one's going to be power.
Is it green and white? What color is that? Green and black? What is that?
Black and yellow.
That's black and yellow?
It goes to this. With all the other black and
Okay.
yellows. So that's power.
Alright, try number 2.
Number 2?
Or number 3.
Number 2. Number 2.
Yep. Power source.
Number 3? Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our IAC.
IAC. Pull the boot back down. Oh, VTech Yo this thing. We're getting close to the bottom of sensors. On this side.
Progress is being made.
I'm going to hold off on the start signal.
There's another harness that goes to that.
Yeah.
That I have somewhere. I thought I brought it with.
But I believe that would be the start.
I think that's the start signal, yeah.
It's the only 12 gauge wire in the whole wiring harness, so everything else.
This is our
18,
sensor ground.
Well, that's the common ground.
Common ground, yeah, okay. What are we doing next?
Something carnage.
Charge. That's the charge harness. There should be another harness that plugs into this.
No, it goes into here.
Yep, there one should be a harness that... Oh no, this goes into the alternator. My bad.
Alternator connector.
Alright, it is day 2 of the wiring fiasco. We have Garth trying to figure out the wiring for the K-swap. We originally purchased a wiring harness. It's a $250 wiring harness that is basically like a universal K-series breakout harness. It gives you the essentials that you need in order to tie into the chassis of whatever your vehicle is that you're going to swap the K-series into. And, well, Garth wasn't too happy about the quality of the harness that Ryan bought for $250. So Garth says it needs to go. It needs to go. All right, yeah. So what are your thoughts on that harness there, Garth?
I don't think they should use 18 gauge wire to carry 40 amps.
That's probably bad.
And they shouldn't use 14 gauge wire and then split it off to two
What are you talking
40
about?
amp relays.
That's also probably bad.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
And
So, what are you going to do to fix the problem?
I'm going to replace it with appropriate size wiring.
Appropriate size wiring.
Yes, 10 gauge.
So this is the
Main
mess.
feed,
This
and then-
is hell. This is my definition of hell. Sorry, Sean. This is my definition of hell. So, let's get at it.
Yes, sir.
On here, the breakout harness basically states that it gives us provisions for the wideband O2, the OBD2 port, tachometer, speedometer, low oil pressure, check engine light, fan control, fuel pump, and starter relay. So we got the reverse lights relay that we still have to get wired in. The harness that we picked up from an unnamed source for $250 had to be rewired because why?
Dinky wires.
And those were for what?
The red one, which is a 16 gauge wire, I believe I measured it on that. Hold on. Let me verify. I don't want to pass on any bad information.
Okay.
So the red wire that was provided with the relatively expensive wiring harness would be a 16 gauge wire to power a total of two 40 amp relays.
That's two 40 amp relays.
And to give you an idea, if you look at your fuse panel, one of those maxi fuses barely hits 80 amps. And they have slightly better connection than a
And you can see clearly, let me see this.
14 gauge wire.
You can see clearly where they jumped it to feed two relays. So Garth, you keep speaking because I'll just be speaking gibberish.
So that got replaced with 10 gauge. And then the single 40 amp relay there requires 12 volt switched. And they opted for a 20 gauge wire to power 40 amps.
Which I'm guessing is bad.
Yeah, well, it's not bad if you like your wiring looking like an incandescent bulb. And being that it's stored inside in a Fiero, which are known to catch fire.
Because they all catch fire.
Every last one. They're all burned up.
There's
Nobody
none left.
just knows.
There's none left.
They're all illusions. But, yeah.
That could possibly cause a cockpit fire or wherever you have that routed.
Yes, and considering that the ECU sits exactly 3 1/4 inches above the gas tank, probably not the best plan.
Yeah, because all that wiring runs right above the gas tank.
Yep. Separated by a very thin sheet of steel.
Yeah. 22 gauge, mostly.
Yep. So that got replaced with some 14 gauge wire.
Which is now this wire. Yes?
Yes.
And we got it labeled as to where that needs to go. We got some little more tweaking and figuring out we got to do. Get the multimeter on it once power is applied to the system. If we can't get back from Mike, we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, right?
Yep. Put it in, try it, see if we let the magic smoke out.
Yeah, don't let off the magic smoke, because I don't have a magic smoke refilling station. I just don't.
Yeah.
I looked on Amazon. There isn't one.
Mine broke a couple years ago, so
we're screwed.
we
if
gotta
we
be
do it.
perfect.
So I relabeled all this for the C203. I think that looks a lot better now. I did
Or
the
at
same
least it
thing.
looks like a pretty octopus now.
Well, it looks like I actually might be semi-professional. We got C500 relabeled. And there's a lot of these wires. I'd love to unpin what we don't use, but then you also got to think, if you ever wanted to add extra functionality,
Yes.
you've already got wiring there.
Plus, it also has 30-year-old GM sealant in
Oh,
every
the black
single one.
goo. Yeah. But you know, that's a good idea, because we go switch this turbo. If we want to run meth injection, rolling anti-lag,
Yeah,
whatever.
we
We
can
already got
pin in,
wiring
pin
in
out.
place.
Yeah, we can pin in, pin out.
So we just got to find a neat way to hide what we don't use.
I'm thinking it'd probably get rolled up under the battery.
Yeah, over in that corner beside the battery. You
Yeah,
can't
just
see it
roll
anyway.
under the battery tray, right on
Perfect
the
spot, yeah. Okay, so that's what we do. So the biggest question now is, by the time this video gets released, which will be sometime in January, because I hate editing, it takes hours and hours and hours. Hopefully by then, the money will start rolling in, so we can get back on to ordering. We got to get Willwood brakes for the back of Brian's car. We have to get those spot calipers to do a parking brake. I got to figure out a mounting plate to make all that work and happy. That's a big one. And we got to do some 3D printing.
Well, I got to do some 3D designing.
Tell everybody what we're doing with the 3D printing.
Well, Brian has a special request for his very special, expensive dash.
Yes, let me grab it.
It should mount inset with an eyebrow into the stock gauge cluster.
Yeah, see, it says proud of the panel now. We want it to be recessed in there flat,
So,
with just a lip around it to make it look professional.
even though this is hideously dirty, you can get the point.
Yes, that's from doing all that woodwork.
Yes. That helped pay for some of this.
Yes, it really did.
So I'm going to work on Fusion 360 and make up a design that bolts into the Fiero bolt locations, all 6 of them, and leaves the access port for all the connections and the screw-in points. And then we can...
Because we already have a template that shows us all the mounting points from Howtech.
from Howtech.
So that'll help with your design. It'll make it a lot easier for you because you got known points now, right?
And then I'm going to take the gauge bezel off of my Fiero,
The one that he's only driven once in 4 years that I built for him.
but it's still helping his son out. He says I never touch it. Well, I'm touching it now.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I touched myself all the time.
Okay, moving on.
But then I'm going to take a picture, scale it, and then I'm going to extrude it in 3D printing.
And your daughter is like a genius at this stuff, Samantha.
Yes, she's actually a freshman in high school, and she's going to get her AutoCAD certification for 3D.
This girl is it Xenon
Yes.
workstation?
Twin Xenon. Well,
Twin-
it's a HP 820.
HP 820.
820 workstation with twin Xenon 5680s
And a 1080 tie.
and a 1080 tie.
And that's what she's doing all her rendering and whatnot. She's 14 years
2
old.
terabyte RAID and RAID 1.
And she's tearing it up. I mean, soon I'll be calling Samantha and say, hey Samantha, I need this doohickey for my car. Can you make it? Zip zap, boom.
Yep.
Done. You
And
gotta love it. The future is awesome.
I just gotta get the big 3D printer working.
And how big is your 3D printer?
Print area is 500 by 500 millimeters by 600 millimeters.
Okay, what's that in English?
Close on 2 foot in any direction.
So we could technically and hopefully make a whole new center stack for the radio, HVAC, all that. Shift plate, center console, or armrest in the Fiero. It's getting
we
kind of
could
big.
we could prototype it with a 3D printer.
Prototype it and wrap it and make it look nice. And
Well, prototype it, mold it, then cast it. Yeah,
that's
I
the
know.
great thing about all our old cars, that especially from the 80s, because a lot of that stuff was cheap, brittle plastic.
Yes. And we can make out a new, cheaper brittle plastic.
Or carbon fiber.
or carbon fiber or nylon or carbon fiber reinforced nylon or PET
That sounds good.
or PETG
But it's much better materials.
or ABS.
You can make it out of much better materials. Change it, adapt it to anything you want.
There are people experimenting with polycarbonate printing.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
Bulletproof glass printed from a 3D print.
Yeah, because you know, if your fire, but if your Fiero catches on fire, whatever's in the bulletproof glass would be okay.
No, it still melts.
Oh, well, there goes that
and
idea.
burns. But at a very high temperature, so you would already be dead by the time it catches on fire.
Oh well, that's good.
Yeah.
I suppose. I don't know how that's applicable, but you know, it's good to know.
At least you know you're not the last thing to go.
That's. I don't think that would really matter at that point, but okay.
You can take solace in it.
Okay, so next step we're going to do is we'll start working on that.
Yeah.
I'll throw all this wiring, give Susan back her table, who was gracious enough to let us take over the dining room.
The gauge pod to convert the gauge pod right now.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. I am really looking forward to how that whole process works.
Put 92 millimeter, 32, 62 millimeter.
Yeah, 62 millimeter gauges. Yeah,
That's
going to be neat.
PTSD kicking in.
Yeah, and I love the idea you had about the backlighting, and it's just amazing some of the ideas you come up to really modernize the car. And Brian's going to be the recipient of all this cool new stuff.
Prototype number, well, hopefully 1, but more than likely prototype like 12.
Yeah, so it's cool. I mean, I love it. He's going to get some really cool stuff, the stuff that we only dreamed about when we started messing around with Fieros back in the early 90s. So,
well, I mean, this right here has more computing power than
the entire Fiero did, new.
Yes, and even after I converted mine to the LQ1, because I had to splice together 2 different
You
computers.
did. He had the original V6 ECU and the LQ1's ECU in that car. It was a wiring nightmare.
But it
So,
raced for many years.
do me a favor, in the comment section below, please help us convince Garth to bring that 85 GT that's powered with the LQ1, which is a 3.4 dual cam engine, to bring it to me and be K-swap number 3. You got to let us know in the comment section. Please help me encourage Garth to save that car, because it's just sitting in his garage as a part shelf, dust collection system.
Part shelf prototype donation.
The good thing about that is you can prototype a lot of stuff because he's already got the Fiero here. That's a good thing. But that car really needs to be K-swap. I don't want to hear any crazy outboard 2-stroke engines. I want to K-swap it.
I still want to Evinrude swap it.
No, K-swap. K-swap.
Evinrude E-Tech.
No.
250 horsepower
that's cool,
in a
but
package the size of this gauge pod.
We don't want adapter plates. We don't want custom flywheels. That's the great thing about the Honda engine. We use the Honda engine, Honda transmission. There's no adapter plates.
How about we just throw a snowmobile transmission on the back?
Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. That's going to be a good ending. We are now day 2 here. No, this is day 3, Garth. Working on doing the 3D printing models for the IQ3. Where we're going to take this IQ3 dash. We're going to inset it into the new panel that Garth is going to print out. So Garth has the dash panel down here, the trim bezel, and he's way up here taking a picture of it. And then what do you do with these pictures?
And I overlay them in Fusion 360. And from that, I take the dimensions off of the actual object. Or on the diagram.
And you get what? And overlay these right here?
I'm going to start with the back panel. That will give me my outline and the bolt hole location for mounting it. And then once I have that outlined, I would extrude that out so it actually has thickness, put the chamfers on it. And then I'll take the outline of this with the mounting holes outline and scale that. And then I'll lay that down under the drawing of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll extrude downwards. And it should make an inset at the depth of the dash.
Yeah, and we want this edge right here. We want about 1/4 of an inch of this edge sticking up. That way the hooded part still sticks out, but we save so much room from the back of the steering wheel where this sets in toward the dash a bit more. I think that'll look good. And then with this 1/4 inch proud, we could do like an edge around the outside, you know what I mean? Just to kind of surround it. I think that would look cool. That's the way Mike's was done on his KMR2, and it looked really good.
And then we may put...
Well, we've got to do holes because we need a hole on each side for turn signal. We need one for the high beam. But I'll drill into those, and then one for the parking brake light because we got to get those little, those little round LED billet LED things that you can drill holes and insert in. Because there's a few things that we have to add into that panel.
I can always draw in the insets so that you can have the turn signals.
And they're nice and square and symmetrical and all that.
They'll actually be like arrows.
Oh, that'd be cool.
For each one, and then you backlight them with LEDs.
I'm down with that.
And then, if you have a shift indicator, if you want...
Well, this is the shift lights. These are the shift lights right here. Those are shift lights.
If you want to...
We need turn signal, high beam, and parking brake.
Okay.
That's what we need.
And then I would also put in a high temp alarm, low oil pressure alarm.
Yeah, because we got the leads for it, so why not?
Bright red. Stop
yeah.
Whatever the hell you're doing bright.
I like it.
Lights.
Even a low fuel light if we wanted to.
Yeah. And this is my daughter's workstation. Big old HP Z820.
Which is a dual Xenon workstation. No, it's a server.
Well, it's a workstation originally. It was designed as a workstation. And we're going to open up Fusion 360. We have Blender, we have Cura. And those are our slicing softwares that we use. And right now it's hooked to this small printer.
That's the small printer you started out with, right?
Yeah, this one I just got back up and running. And then I gotta get that one up and running.
That thing is huge. Put it in perspective, there's the auxiliary gauge pods that he test printed one off to make a 3-gauge pod. So that should give you a scale of the size of that monster.